Don't you want it? 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 You lose your little mind. 5 dead lives.
Welcome to the Deadlights podcast, Mini. I am your host, Mini Sam.
I am Mini Leslie, bringing you your mini episodes of Minis.
So many minis
So
going
many
on.
minis.
And I wanted to first take this opportunity right at the top.
Make a drop.
To tell people about our exciting news. We have a live show coming soon. We just made it official. It is coming in the next couple episodes. It'll be a live show.
It would be a live show.
Where?
Wait, so these would definitely come out before the live show?
These will definitely... I mean, we're 10 weeks ahead of everything that's being recorded.
That's what I'm saying.
But now we're like technically 4 episodes away from the release of the live show.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for the live show. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some games. We're going to have some audience participation going on. And it's going to be a very...
Some merchandise that you might be seeing
here. And it's going to be a very famous and very classic movie that we'll be watching, which I'll leave a mystery. But
yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be fun. So please stay tuned very soon for our first live show of the Deadlights pod.
And one thing that I'm really... And I'm going to spill the beans a little bit. I hate beans. I don't hate them. I just don't like them.
Spill those beans you don't like.
I'm very excited to be making a brand new beer through a brewer. I think it's a really great opportunity for us to experiment and create something new for something that we fucking are very excited to do.
I think it's great. It's going to be a great kind of collaborative experience that we're going to have between not only us and the audience that we're going to have there live, but also we're going to have a brewer make a brand new batch of beer that is specifically for this event. And so we're collaborating not only with people, but also brewers, and we're going to have the community. It's going to be a very just big collaborative experience.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be very fun. So please stay tuned for that. Coming very soon. But today we got a minisode that we got to do. And right before we recorded this minisode, I kind of told you my idea of what we're going to do, but I decided to change it. We're doing something completely different than I told you.
What?
I know. I'm changing it up on you.
Oh my God.
Right here, right now.
Oh my God. I'm scared.
I know you're scared, but I think it's a topic that we really need to talk about. And that topic is motherfucking Guillermo Del Toro.
Yay!
Guillermo Del motherfucking Toro. We need to, first of all, have a cheers to Guillermo Del Toro.
Cheers to Guillermo. My
because
God.
he is first of all, a pioneer in the horror genre in general and the fantasy genre. And also he is Mexican. And he is making a name for himself in this American culture that keeps Americanized things very close to it. But as a quote-unquote foreigner, he has come in and just kind of taken this genre by storm.
Dominated.
We have watched The Shape of Water and Nightmare Alley, both directed by Guillermo Del Toro. We've also watched The Orphanage and most recently Antlers, produced by Guillermo Del Toro. He has his name attached to so many horror movies and adjacent things that I think he deserves his own minisode. We got to talk about him.
We got to talk about him.
We got to talk about him.
Also, my brother yesterday sent me a picture of him meeting Guillermo.
Yes.
And I totally forgot that existed.
Incredible.
He must have listened to our minisode. Hello, Josue. But yeah, he was like going to Comic-Con almost every year for a couple of years, and what an freaking experience. First of all, he's going to the San Diego one, which is the biggest Comic-Con.
Yeah.
For free, because he had helped a local comic book artist create his website. He was so excited about having his own website, and it looked beautiful, that he just like gave him passes for like, I want to say like 6, 7, 8 years or something like that. Which is like a really cool thing that I wish I could have gone to.
Very cool. And then on top of being able to go to Comic-Con, being able to meet Guillermo Del Toro, like,
yeah,
incredible.
Also, my brother has given me another one of my prized possessions, which is a signature from Brian Lee O'Malley, who is the comic book artist of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and Seconds and many others now. So, really cool thing.
Really cool. Hey, shout out to Josue. I know you're a listener. I know you're listening to every single one. We love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shout out to you. Hey, cheers to you as well.
Cheers. Clink.
Clink, 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 clink.
But yes, this motherfucker,
Guillermo.
What is really amazing is that we're seeing his films. Not that I fucking care, like I mentioned before, about award shows, but it is so important to notice that he is a horror maker.
And he's a household name, too.
He's a household name, and he has his films being nominated. His horror films being nominated for Oscars.
Yes.
That in itself is, like, groundbreaking.
And because, maybe the viewers don't know this, but media hates horror. The general media hates horror movies.
Yeah.
And so for him to come in and make this genre part of what the media has to talk about because it's so good, and then on top of it be a foreign filmmaker to then come in and break that ground is incredible, you know. And most of his movies, like Pan's Labyrinth and the Orphanage that we watched on this podcast, they're not in English. Those are not in English, but they are like staples in the horror genre and are important movies for us to watch because they're so good.
Yeah.
And so for a foreign film director and horror movie director to make it into these Oscar nomination movies is incredible.
It's
like, I
amazing.
I don't think he gets enough credit for being in that forefront of like, because he's been in the conversation for a while, and technically he's been a foreign filmmaker for a while. So for him to be in the conversation and a household horror name is amazing. And I commend him so much for that.
And he not only is making just like a really great script, he is involving all sorts of practical effects. An art style that I think nowadays is appreciated. But it is seen as like a vintage kind of art style that we're not really incorporating into our films nowadays, you know, especially our horror. You know, why would you spend fucking hours and money spent on practical effect when you can just grab somebody that can do a really great graphic and call it a day, you know, like, what is more time beneficial for you and also money efficient?
And I think too is like these movies that he's making and involved with are not just horror movies. They're talking about something. Like, they are making a point about whatever the theme that we're exploring. And that's why I've always been so connected to him, is that his movies feel elevated. They feel beyond the genre that they are in. They are movies that are exploring trauma and exploring these monsters that are within ourselves, beyond the monsters that are just in our imagination.
For a second, I thought that, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear.
Yeah, there's a dog out there.
Yeah, no, but I thought that dog was my stomach, and I was like, am I that hungry? Oh my God. Guillermo,
Did
are
you-
you
did you do
in
that?
there?
So I thought it'd be kind of interesting because we have now, at this point, kind of explored 4 Guillermo del Toro movies.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wanted to like just talk about each of those as like what we liked about them. So I wanted to start with the most recent one, which was Antlers. He's a producer on. This is a movie which is a monster movie for sure.
Yes.
A monster movie, but heavily talks about trauma. And heavily just like at the end of the movie, I felt like it wasn't a monster movie. I felt like it was a actual movie about trauma and them exploring that idea.
This is the first movie that I felt, because we've definitely talked about psychological thrillers and horror as two, like as a subgenre, and this one. Ugh.
Yummy.
How did I get the hair in there?
Is that a piece of bark or
antler? Yeah, an antler. It really mixes the two, and there's no separation. It's trauma is psychological.
Yes.
So we have that, and then we have a demigod. We have a monster,
an actual physical monster,
and both of them are one. It is very metaphorical and also just kind of like telling you if you do not deal with this, you will pass it on.
Yeah.
You'll pass it on and let's stop. So you can totally see his art through the monsters.
Yes.
I don't know how much say he had about the actual like script itself or anything else about it, but you can tell the style from the practical effects.
If Guillermo, I kind of trust him enough as a filmmaker to, if he's gonna put his name on something, he believes in it. He's gonna be involved in some way, and he's also believes in that storytelling to be like, I will put my stamp on this. And the other one that he's a producer on that we did watch was The Orphanage.
The Orphanage.
And that's again kind of talking about these traumas that we're having. That one is more as an adult, like the main character we're following is going through this trauma of their missing kid and dealing with their own past to then try to fix their present, so that felt again very dark.
There's no happy ending.
There's no happy ending in that one either. And it just, again, we're using these ideas of monsters, in the Orphanage case, ghosts, to relate to the ghosts of our past. And the ideas of where you came from haunting you. And then how does that then bring you to overcoming the ghosts or the monsters of what you're going through right now, which she tried to do.
Yeah.
That
you
movie,
can't do it by yourself. If you have these deep embedded traumas, you can't do it alone. You shouldn't do it alone. Like, somebody else put these in you.
Yeah.
So you were not alone when you took these, like.
Well, and the idea of orphans too, I think, is a very interesting idea to explore, because children, first of all, we're talking about children who have had trauma and loss that they don't even understand at that point, being the main characters and like the main thing that we're exploring in the orphanage. So how does that affect you in the future? How does something that wasn't your fault and you had nothing to do with but is still trauma, how does that affect you in the future? And how does that affect your decisions and how you go about living your life and what you do in the future? How does that affect you? And I think that very much was what the Orphanage was trying to explore. And then it again adds this idea of monsters to us, for us as the audience to try to like digest it, of like, okay, we're using these ghosts and these monsters as things to be vehicles for these lessons that Guillermo and the filmmakers that were making that movie make those that we were trying to explore, you know? So...
Well, Pan's Labyrinth also deals with something like
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yes, and now we're getting to movies that he's actually directed. Because Pan's Labyrinth, he actually did direct.
Yeah.
And my God,
film.
I saw that movie in theaters, and I don't know what year that came out, but I was definitely young, and I had to walk out of the theater at some point. I actually,
I was scared.
I was horrified.
When she finds her little brother as like a fucking blob thing underneath the bed.
The little, yeah, oh my God.
I was just like, excuse me? Like, excuse me?
But what got me about that movie wasn't even the supernatural things. It was the real world, like, this insane sergeant stepfather guy that was doing these horrible things to the rebels that he found, literally smashing their faces in, shooting them in the face, cutting them up. I was horrified.
Oh my God, I don't remember that.
Oh yeah,
it's
that
been
happened.
a while.
That happened in that movie.
I'm excited.
It's in there. But no, really, like he brings this real world aspect to horror, and then brings fantasy into it. And the fantasy part becomes the less scary part of it. It's like what's going on in the real world is actually what is scary.
But I mean, that's what kids end up doing, right? Like, that's why if you are going through trauma, you develop coping mechanisms, and one of them being a dissociative disorder where you just like escape.
Yeah.
You know? And as children, I think, just have like just the highest imagination. And we create scenarios and worlds in which we can escape.
Yeah.
So it really ties into just like this little girl having to deal with she has to grow up very fast, at least mentally. And of course she's seeing all these things happening, you know, this fantastical world appearing upon her.
What's amazing and lovely about Pan's Labyrinth is at the end of the movie, you don't necessarily know for sure if all the fantasies that she's gone through are real, but it doesn't matter because she has been, if it isn't real, she's been creating these fantasies to cope with the situation that she is in. And that's what that movie's about. It's about coping, really, with being in horribly traumatic situations. And we are focused on this child who's using these beautiful, fantastical images to cope with this civil war, this Spanish Civil War that she is in the middle of, and she doesn't understand. And this is what makes her kind of process what's going on around her.
Regardless of whether a child would understand those heavy adult situations and themes, they will create a scenario which they can maybe tie as much as they can to understand. And that made me realize that, like, Alice in Wonderland is very much like that too. She's having to grow up and she just doesn't want to.
Yes.
And she runs away and she creates this world in which she goes to. And like
to deal with the traumas of reality
and having to get married.
Yeah.
What was she, like 12, 13?
Yeah.
Yikes. I do not ever. Sad. It's so sad.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And he creates them and recreates them in such a digestible way for us to all kind of relate to it. And then going to the movies that we've actually watched on the podcast that he's directed, the first one that we watched was The Shape of Water, which I love because he takes this monster and makes him the hero, and then takes what was once the hero and creates him into a monster. The man is the monster, and the monster is the hero. And I know that movie for sure was such a like a close thing for Guillermo Del Toro because he loved the movie The Creature from the Black Lagoon, which is exactly what the monster in that movie was based on. And he kind of just flips that movie on its head.
And also, I think it is such a fantastic, I just like, what am I trying to say? I guess script writing that he he created this monster that was once a scary creature into the romantic
He's a romantic
person.
lead. Yeah.
He's the romantic lead. So the image of them dancing in a very classic style where our our lead actress, she is deaf, you know, and mute. So like she's dancing along with her creature. It was so weirdly beautiful.
She loves him and we love him.
Yeah.
We love him too. We don't want him to fail. And he's a monster master. And he has brought us into this world where we love the monster too.
We love the monster.
We love it. We love it as much as she does.
It's done nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing to make it be a monster.
Yes, exactly. And it's beautiful, and it's like, I don't want to call him the monster anymore.
No.
He's not the monster of the
He's
movie.
the romantic lead.
Yeah, he is. He's hot.
He's hot.
And that she says in the movie, penis. Penis comes out.
Well, you know,
he's hung. This bit. He's like a.
Tell me when. Holy shit! Where is that?
Where does it go?
It's one of his legs.
He's big. He's big. And then, so the other movie that we have reviewed on this podcast that Guillermo directed was Nightmare Alley.
Yes!
Which Nightmare Alley is interesting because there are no supernatural monsters in that movie. The monsters that we have in that movie are humans.
We are the monsters.
So now we're getting Guillermo exploring monsters that are psychological monsters and within our world, which to me becomes the scariest part of that movie. That these people actually exist. The people that can manipulate you and change you and bend you to their will because they will do that. Because
so fucking...
that's their game,
oh,
you know?
God, yeah. And then the way that the psychologist was able to understand the human mind of this person that's already a fragile narcissist person. And she's like, I'm more narcissistic than you are.
I'm about to kill you.
And breaks him with fucking alcohol, you know? Like, and sex. Like she just uses herself. And holy shit.
Holy shit.
I came in not knowing exactly what I was getting myself into. I was just very open. And, you know, like, yes, Guillermo has gone to the fantastical, but all of his movies that we've talked about so far have had psychological themes to it. So it does not stray too far away from what he's been talking about. No. You know?
It has that Guillermo style. It has that almost heightened reality style, but still so grounded.
So grounded.
It feels so relatable.
And it looks so beautiful.
Incredible.
The colors.
The colors, the lighting in that movie is incredible. And it's a deep, deep, deep movie. It's a very complex movie that we spent 2 hours, almost over 2 hours talking about. And
I think about the ending so many times. Like, it just comes across every now and then. Whenever, like, I want to give up on something, I'm just like, oh, fuck. No. Let's stick to it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to.
You want to be there.
I don't want to be the fucking...
You want to be the geek.
The geek.
Don't get geeked. And that's the thing, too, is, like, I feel like what Guillermo Del Toro does so well with all these movies that we're talking about is, yes, they're scary. There's scary monsters, there's scary parts, there's jump scares, all this kind of stuff. But at the end, we always have such a deep conversation about what the fuck he's talking about. There's so much layers within these movies that we can digest and pick apart, and just like these choices that he makes in the beginning of the movie that then come back at the end, and it's just like they're complex. They're not these surface level horror movies that I think so many people think exist. They are incredibly deep and talking about things that he has a vision of an idea that he wants to explore at the beginning, and he really explores it.
Yeah, he executes things, and with that, he just involves the art of horror.
Yes.
Just in every form.
It's a vehicle.
And it's wonderful.
Yeah. It really becomes just like, when I watch his movies, I'm like, yes, absolutely, these are horror movies. I'm horrified at everything I'm seeing, but in the end, they're just films. And I think that is what's great, and why he becomes such a household name in these like Oscar-nominated movies, is because they're undeniably great films that he is making, and that he's exploring these ideas. And
I mean, also,
Jesus.
Look at him. He looks like a teddy bear.
He's a teddy bear guy.
I hope he is kind and understanding and patient when it comes to filmmaking. I mean, I have heard that he is a perfectionist. When you're making art, I can't really see you not being a perfectionist. But besides that, like, I mean, there's a reason why he has
he cares
style.
about it.
Yeah.
He obviously cares about these ideas that he's exploring and this genre that he's exploring. And I'm so beyond grateful for him as a filmmaker, because he's in the horror genre, and because he's bringing the horror genre, literally forcing the horror genre into the mainstream.
Yeah.
Because people can't deny that these movies are incredible.
People go and see his movies. Like, I remember going to see The Shape of Water, and that movie theater was full.
Yeah.
You know? So he's having all sorts of people come in and see his movies, and I think that is an incredible fucking director. You want people to come and see your movies. And if your movies are horror and all sorts of people are coming by and seeing them, like kudos to you. My God.
And that literally goes back to the reason that I wanted to do these podcasts in the first place, was to examine these films as films. And people have such a stigma against horror because I think that they have this idea that it's only blood and guts, or
it's only about demons.
It's only about scary things. But no, we're exploring way deeper things on the human level than a lot of other movies are. And I think that the horror genre in general can explore those deeper, darker things that all humans share. You know, like, we can't ignore those things that all of us as humans share, these deep, dark, traumatic things that we've all gone through. And these are expressions. These movies are expressions of trauma. And that's important. That is very important for us to, first of all, for these filmmakers to almost have a cathartic experience to create these stories and get that trauma off their chest. But also us as viewers to then watch these movies and go through these stories and then have our own cathartic process to work through about our own trauma and how we relate to these movies. And he has done that with every single movie that he has made and forced that into the mainstream. And I appreciate that so much of him. And I'm so glad that we have had at least 4 movies that have been either directed or produced by him in this podcast for us to talk about, because we have been left with so much to talk about.
I know.
So much.
It's just incredible that we've already gotten majority of his movies in.
It's awesome. Thank God.
Oh no, absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
But like, what are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do? He's gonna have to create more stuff for us to be able to like include it. In the years to come.
But I think the thing is like, yes, he's a pioneer. He is a person who has made these movies and pushed these movies to go forward. But we're not the only people that he's inspiring. You know, there's other horror filmmakers that I know have seen him as a beacon of the horror genre. And we have other filmmakers now coming up being inspired by him and making movies that are inspired by that. I mean, I think Ari Aster, you know, he's made, you know, great horror movies that have talked about way more than just scary things. And also Robert Eggers, who the movie that we just picked, The Lighthouse, he's making movies too that are definitely within the horror genre that are exploring way more than just horror.
Yeah.
So
it's stylized in a very classic way.
He's inspiring people. Guillermo is definitely, he's an older man, but he has spent his career only doing what he loves and now inspiring this next generation of horror filmmakers, which thank you for that too. Like, you have made incredible movies, but you're now inspiring people to make incredible movies. Thank you. This episode, one big thank you to Guillermo.
One big thank you to you.
I will jack you off in this episode. In this episode, I will jack you off.
Just right here, right now. Sorry, you're going to miss it later on.
It's true, though. Like, I think he has been such an important piece in the horror genre in general. Yeah. Especially modern horror. For sure.
I don't know if I've confessed this to you.
We got a confession going on.
I'm in love with him. No, I'm just kidding.
Fair.
I mean, yes. But I was looking him up. I was like looking through his bio and just like getting like a background of where he freaking went to school. He went to school in Guadalajara, and there's a festival that he like goes and sees all these filmmakers make films and stuff. But also, I wanted to see if I can get his email so I can write him like a thank you, and like I would love to be in his films, but I don't know where to go. I don't know where to get it.
I mean, if anyone has any connection to Guillermo, like please like, and just on a level of that, you know, like I think that that's fair to just even thank him for bringing horror to a new level of respect.
There is a full-on website made by a fan that is verified by Guillermo, where you can go and give your thanks to him. And they stated right there, do not pitch your movie ideas or anything. This is like essentially just kind of like a fan club type of thing.
And he deserves it. He deserves that.
Absolutely.
I would love to write him a thank you note because this is the genre that you and I love, and you and I, for whatever reason, have picked as is what's most effective for us as art. You know, not even just like movies, but like art. You know, like he has made some incredible pieces of art that he should be thanked for, and he should be continually thanked for. And I think that the next generation of horror filmmakers is only going to feed that too, because there's no way that he hasn't inspired the modern filmmakers.
I mean, if anything, I do not want people to stop doing practical effects.
Yes.
Just because another form is easiest. Yes, graphic design is amazing. One of my brothers is in it. So all of that stuff is amazing. Video graphics are awesome. But there's something wonderful about seeing and knowing that this person is in full costume and like that fucking creature is all practical. It's actual things that you can move.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something so incredible about that. And then I can't imagine as an actor being in that space and then being able to just react genuinely
to the real thing.
They're fucking freaky. So yeah,
and that transcends, I feel like, the horror genre. Just having effects in general be practical, I think, is just so important for not only the audience viewing it, but also the actor who's in the scene too, to genuinely react to it. And so he has, through all his movies, very practical effects. And I agree. I think it's so important. I think that keeping it real is...
Keeping it real.
Let's keep it real. It keeps it genuine. It keeps it genuine not only from us as the audience, but also the actor that's on set.
It's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, you can definitely have both. But just... I don't know. Just be able to hire people that can do robotics. Is that a word?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and he's also at this level too. At this point, where it's Guillermo Del Toro, everyone knows that name. They're gonna throw a bunch of money to him, no matter what. Mm-hmm. So let's spend the money on these effects. You know, let's actually give the love, give the money to making these effects really fucking good. And I think that he agrees that that's important. Mm-hmm. So, fuck yeah. And all these movies that we've talked about have had so many examples of very real practical effects. Yes. So, that's also very important to him, which, love that about him.
Love you.
Love you.
Guillermo.
This is a love letter to you, baby. Guillermo Del Toro.
Guillermo.
Love him.
Awesome.
Thank you, Guillermo.
Great. Thank you.
We love you.
Ajou.
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 Is that a... What does that mean?
Chicken ajou.
Chicken
beef ajou.
Beef
all these sauces. You're giving the sauce.
Shrimp ajou. Ugh. Yikes.
Shrimp ajou. I don't know what that is.
I don't know. I just said it.
Well, let's get out of this, huh?
All right. Well, you can follow me on Color Me Leslie.
And me.
And that's to you, Guillermo.
And
follow me.
And Guillermo, also you can follow me at Beep Beep Richie T. And also the Deadlights Pod. You can follow both of us.
Yes, you can follow that one too.
Also
please.
check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we are recording.
Follow that one as well.
I'll follow all these.
All of them.
But until next Minisode.
Let's get mini spooky.
I am the face monster from that Pan's Labyrinth movie.
I am the geek.